Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. And today I'm going to be talking about how I discovered and got into the Dragon Ball franchise. So, I know that for the most part, a lot of YouTubers here on the channel, Dragon Ball YouTubers, I don't consider, I love Dragon Ball. I love it to death. And I know I do a lot of Dragon Ball content, you know, because all I do is review the Dragon Ball figures and stuff. But I really don't think I'm a Dragon Ball channel, a Dragon Ball YouTuber. But anyways, I know a lot of Dragon Ball YouTubers. I know for the most part that they got into the Dragon Ball series from the Toonami run, the big Toonami boom, when it hit the US with Toonami, Dragon Ball Z. Me, no. No, I'm an OG, bro. I am an OG. Um, I discovered Dragon Ball. I want to say like 19, like late 90s. I'm not sure. I think, let me see, 90, 96, 97, 90. I want to say like around 1998. Okay. So it's like 1998. I'm just going to say 1998 because I don't know exactly. It was a while back. Kind of dating myself there, right? Whatever. I'm old. Whatever. I want to say like 1998. I live with my grandma. Me and my mom live with my grandma. We didn't have cable. We didn't even have basic cable. We just had those analog channels. And I'm from El Paso. I'm Hispanic. I speak fluent Spanish, and of course I speak English. So a lot of the local channels, you had K Fox, you had Batman the animated series, you had Power Rangers, you had the Fresh Prince of Bel Air. You had stuff like that I would watch. Boy Meets World, yeah, stuff like that on the English channels, but on the Spanish channels, there was a Spanish channel. I think it was like Spanish something X, something Spanish channel, something X, and we picked it up on analog. And I would watch The Simpsons in Spanish. And one day on a weekend, I think it was like a Saturday morning, um, there was always Saturday morning cartoons. I would get up and I would watch like X Men, Spider Man, and then of course Power Rangers and all that stuff, and then get off the TV. But I had finished watching some episodes of Power Rangers or whatever it was, and then it was already like noon, so they cut the Saturday morning cartoons. And I was flipping through the channels, and I wanted to see something else, and I flipped through that Spanish analog channel, Canal X or whatever it's called. I don't know what it is now, but it was some Spanish analog channel, and there was an anime, and I'll never forget it. And it was like a big violent battle that was happening in the anime. There was blood. Um, the dub was like intense with the voices, and it was Los Caballeros de Zodiaco, and which is basically Saint Seiya. If you know the anime Saint Seiya, it was Saint Seiya, but it's called Caballeros de Zodiaco in Spanish, and it caught my eye. It pulled me in. That was the first anime that I fell in love with. So during the week, um, all of a sudden, instead of coming home and watching things like The Fresh Prince of Bel Air and Batman the Animated Series and Power Rangers, some I would check Canal X, and sometimes they would have like their novelas, the adult um, soap operas and stuff. And then later on, I figured out like around 8, close to like 10 p.m., they would have like a little um, block in which they would show anime, and only anime only, sort of like what Toonami ended up doing later in English. But this was before they had like their own little anime block. And I was sucked in. On the weekends I would watch Caballeros del Zodiaco, Saint Seiya, and then I ended up watching The Simpsons, in Spanish, and it was okay. I still think the English, um, the English version is better. But I ended up running and falling in love with another anime known as Ranma en Medio, Ranma and a half, and I loved that anime. And those were my two animes that I would rock for a while. And um, one time, for whatever reason, um, I stopped right after episode of Ranma and Medio. They would show Dragon Ball. Sometimes I wouldn't pay attention. I was like, yeah, it looks whatever. But it caught my eye because I used to work the weekends with my uncle at the swap meet, and I would see these Dragon Ball toys, and I'm like, who are these spiky haired figures? And there was always like two bootleg types of toys sold at the swap meet. Oh well, three: Lucha Libre bootleg Mexican wrestler toys, um, the Saint Seiya toys, Caballeros del Zodiaco, the Super Battle Collection Dragon Ball Z figure toys, and some of the designs caught my eye and stuff like that. It always caught my eye. So when I got the opportunity, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna check out this Dragon Ball thing, see how this is, because I see the figures all over the place when I'm working with my uncle. And sure enough, it was Dragon Ball. It was OG Dragon Ball. I'm talking about like little kid Goku. And I tuned in right around the Red Ribbon arc. And I stayed all the way throughout, the King Piccolo and Junior arcs, and then of course all the way through Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT. I watched everything that they had in Spanish, the Garlic Junior stuff, all of that stuff I watched, you know, and I absolutely loved it. And of course, your heart's crushed when you find out, oh, it's an old anime. It's already dead. Everything ended with GT. There's no more new stuff coming out. Um, so that's how I discovered Dragon Ball, the Dragon Ball franchise. I loved it. I love the Spanish dub. The Spanish dub um, carried a lot of the original score, the original music. Um, they wouldn't censor things like blood, and I felt for the most part was pretty close to the original, Japanese dialogue. I'm not gonna say voices, but dialogue. And one of my favorite things is the fact that they always covered the music, the intro and the outro music for Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT, but in Spanish. So, like, I watch all these YouTubers and they fight about, oh, the Falcon, the Falconer score, or I prefer, the Funimation dub versus, the dub versus sub wars and all that stuff. And I'm just here like, screw you guys. Like for me, for the longest time, my Goku was the Spanish dub Goku. You know, um, for the longest time, like screw, the Falconer score. Give me those Spanish intros all day. Like shala hit chala. If you're a Spanish speaker and you're watching this, chala hit chala or hechala or whatever you want to call it in Spanish was a bomb. That was my jam. That's how I got into Dragon Ball. That's how I enjoyed it. And in Spanish, they never named the moves. In Spanish, we didn't have a spirit bomb. A Hinky Dama was a Hinky Dama. Kaioken, you know, Kamehameha, things like that. There was no Big Bang. There was no Final Flash. There was no special beam cannon. You know, you had the original Japanese names. You know, and as far as like censorship went, that I can remember, the censorship. I'm sure they censored more things, but one of the first things that I can recount was okay, like Chi Chi's name. Chi Chi in Spanish is basically titty. It's basically titty in Spanish. So they changed her name to Milk, I think, from what I remember. It's been a long time since I watched the Spanish dub. I should really go back and watch it. But they changed her name to Milk for obvious reasons. Because Chi Chi in Spanish, you know, it's titty, it's inappropriate, you know. But that's how I got into the Dragon Ball franchise. That's how I fell in love with Dragon Ball, all things Dragon Ball. And I never stopped being a fan of Dragon Ball. There'd be lows and then there'd be highs. You know, for a while, you know, it was going to the swap meet and buying every bootleg Super Battle Collection figure back in the day, or legit Super Battle Collection figure. They're horrible figures, but it's the only figures that we had. I had a ton of figures from the swap meet. Um, my uncle, you know, usually sold like modded PlayStations and stuff. So, you know, I played those old Super Batoden games, Dragon Ball GT Final Bout. Horrible game, by the way. Um, all those old school games, I played them. And then, of course, you know, you had the Toonami boom. I, at first, really didn't like the English. I mean, I would watch it just because it was Dragon Ball, but I really didn't like uh, the first round of the English dub with Toonami. I wasn't really a fan because I'm like, okay, would you do to the original score, um, you know, and stuff like that. It was kind of embarrassing, but you know, it eventually got better. Dragon Ball's Dragon Ball. I still support the product to this day, and yeah, that's how I got into the Dragon Ball franchise. How did you discover Dragon Ball? You know, were you part of the Toonami craze? Were you a fan back in the day when they were doing tape trading? Like, you're OG fan if you did tape trading, or did you discover Dragon Ball in Spanish like me before the Toonami wave? Or did you get in Dragon Ball because of video games? Or did you get in Dragon Ball, you know, through Dragon Ball Super? Whatever it is, you let me know your journey into discovering Dragon Ball. What got you into discovering Dragon Ball? How did you discover Dragon Ball? But anyways, guys, as usual, hit that like button and subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications so you know when my videos drop. Because we all know YouTube is it's weird, man. It's weird. Sometimes it's for the creators, sometimes it's not. But you know, whatever. Anyways, I'm Jay. And remember to always smile no matter what time of day or night that you're watching this. Don't forget to smile. And, you know, it can't rain every day. You know, just be positive, think positive, be positive. And I'll catch you guys later.